All right, good evening, everyone. Let me see who. All right, I apologize. I was just having trouble finding the link. Finally got it. All right, guys, everyone. So again, good evening. Welcome to tonight's Finance Committee meeting. This evening, I'm going to make call to order this meeting at 5:32. All right, let me call the councilors who are here present at this time. President Pro Tem Nartates.
Present.
Okay, Councilor Sadi,
Present.
Councilor Dice.
Present.
Okay, Councilor Booker,
Present.
Councilor Burke. Okay, I don't see him yet. Probably on his way. And also I know that Councilor Goodwin is also running a little late due to his job, but he'll be with us briefly. But we do have a quorum, so we'll begin. We have at least Booker, Councilor Booker, Sadi, myself, Dice, and Burke. So we have and President Pro Tem Nartates. All right, so 5. Okay. So again, good evening to everyone. Again, welcome to our Finance Committee meeting. Today is Thursday, April 8th. I want to welcome the Mayor Michael Pastro, Director of Finances, Mr. McBride. Also, welcome to Fire Chief Curcio, who will be presenting this evening. Let me just go over quickly what the procedure will be. At 5:30 p.m., what we'll a little bit later, in a couple of minutes. So Fire Department will present also the emergency management along with that. And then at 6:30, we'll have the Recreation Department, Youth Affairs, and Camp New London. And then the last item there will be public comment. So any public comment will be read at the end. So at this time, again, welcome to everyone. We'll get started. Just a reminder to please make sure, because of recording purposes, make sure that every time you speak, you state your name. Okay. And with that said, we'll have Fire Chief Curcio with his presentation this evening.
Good evening. Thank you, councilors. Thank you, Mayor Pazaro. Thank you, Mr. McBride. As everyone knows, this has been a very busy, challenging year for all of us, all of the city workers. When the pandemic started, we scrambled for personal protective equipment, eventually receiving donations, purchasing our own through vendors, and then tapping into the state surplus. Our members had to adhere to a strict set of guidelines when making contact with a suspected or confirmed case of COVID, decontaminating the ambulance and the equipment after each call, showering and washing their clothes 25 times a shift was the norm. I'm very proud of our members for stepping it up and even working extra shifts when we lost some of our own members to COVID. With the help of volunteers and the public works staff, our emergency management team was the first in the state to open a shelter for COVID patients at the vacant nursing home on Viet Street. Prior to the pandemic, our members were very busy with our daily calls for service, trying to complete training classes for both certifications in pump operator and aerial operator. These classes were funded through an AFG grant and taught by the Connecticut State Fire Academy. The classes came to a halt once COVID started to spread in our area. We are now just restarting these classes. Pre-COVID, working with Jeannie Milstein and Ledgelight Health, our Navigator Outreach program was really making a difference. We also had to put a hold on this program as we are currently seeing a rise in overdoses once again. We hope to restart this program very soon. Within the last year, we formed an integrated health team with Yale New Haven Health. This program assists individuals that may need follow-up services from other outside agencies. These referrals are made by our ambulance and fire crews who obtain a release from a patient they have interacted with. All of our members do an outstanding job watching out for our community. Jeannie and I have been asked on numerous occasions to speak about our success with these team-oriented programs. Our emergency management staff just reached out to 700 of our special needs population to assist in getting our citizens registered for the vaccine, provide transportation, or to get them vaccinated in their own homes. Our fire marshal's office has been very busy with numerous fire investigations, their daily inspections, and a lot of new construction permits. We are currently testing all of our structural firefighting gear to make sure it is safe for our members, sending those that fail out for repairs. We will have 5 retirements coming up in July, 2 of them battalion chiefs positions. An active list is in place and promotions will be made sometime in July or August. A promotion to lieutenant will also be made and recruit firefighters will be hired, 2 of them going to the Connecticut State Fire Academy in August. We continue to work on the Regional Dispatch Center. Training on the new software will begin this April, probably next week and May. I'm very excited about the EMT program that will be taught at the high school. We will be involved with that, with both classroom and the required ride-along time that will be held right here at the firehouse. At the recommendation of our fire marshal's office, Vernon Scow, his office has teamed up with 2 detectives from the New London Police Department. The 2 detectives are going through the state's fire investigation class and will insist at suspicious fire scenes, making the warrant process much quicker. They will be involved from the beginning of the inspection, creating a smoother process for all. We have applied for another AFG grant, which will certify all members as emergency vehicle operators, and the funds will also allow us to replace our 25-year-old air filling station that we use to fill our air packs after fires. Just for an update, and then I'll be done. The Pierce ladder truck that we purchased last year became a nightmare for us. It was a demo. The truck has been in and out of the shop from numerous mechanical issues. So numerous complaints from both myself, Wayne Burrows, mechanical maintenance. The company has agreed to replace this vehicle at no cost to the city, and it's being built now and should be delivered in June. And that's all I have. Thank you.
President Dominguez, thank you, Fire Chief Curcio, for that presentation and explanation. At this time, counselors, I'm gonna start with the same format. You'll have 2 questions allotted to you. And then after that, eventually we'll have time and we'll come back if you have any more, okay? So this evening, we're gonna start with President Pro Tem Nartates.
Thank you, President Dominguez, and welcome, Chief Curcio. So I guess my question really is, I probably should have reached out to you prior. You know, this training position that we've talked about so long, and really being in a kind of predicament with the fire department being vulnerable to inspections by OSHA or local agencies. So where are we today, and how will this budget help the objectives of your fire department?
Well, we're doing the best we can right now to meet all of those objectives. It's done through overtime. It has to be. It's too busy. The shifts are too busy. The battalion chiefs have been helping out as much as they can. My assistant, Mary, does everything that she can. She basically does a lot of the duties of that deputy chief, filling supplies, ordering supplies, putting the supplies away. I realize every department is short-staffed, and I understand that. But this is a very important position as far as safety for our members. It's been 12 years now since that position has been cut from our department. It's needed at the fire scene. They're usually the safety officer, so I don't have to wonder who's going to be my safety officer. I will know who the safety officer is going to be. We had to change our process for working fires. Now we have all the battalion chiefs come. We set up safety, accountability, things that are needed and mandated by OSHA. So it will help. It'll help with training. We currently contract out for our EMT recertification training, and there's a lot of time required. That changed to like a 40-hour not a 40-hour work week, but 40 hours of training, and all of those records have to be kept and documented. And that's where I need someone that can be in that position, be consistent, and do that on a daily basis. And then if somebody takes off for a shift, that can be tracked, catch that individual up on that. We have a major project going on right now with the Regional Dispatch Center that we're building this program, this new software, basically from the beginning. And it's going to be a very good program for both police and fire. It's very much needed. From what I understand, Rick Genovese says our current program is on its last leg and could fail at any time. They try to do the best they can, and they do a great job keeping that running.
Well, thank you, Chief. You know, I'm a proponent. This is what I do for a living, right? I protect corporations from regulatory agencies. So I understand how serious it can be when you leave the fire department vulnerable like that in a legal perspective. So I do support that extra headcount, and it's way long overdue. So thank you for answering my questions.
President Dominguez, here. Let's thank you, President Pro Tem Nartates. Let's continue with Councilor Dice.
Councilor Dice speaking, and President Pro Temp actually addressed the question that I had in mind. And on my way, this is just an observation about the importance. On my way home on Broad Street, there was an incident where a motorcycle got hit just a few minutes ago. And I just appreciate the quickness where everybody came out and helped in the fire department. So, and then also, as we were going through COVID, we talked about making known where kids can feel comfortable, the way the firemen had to dress when they approach people and so forth. I guess I appreciate how you worked with the community and sharing resources about how to sterilize areas. You helped the center out and explaining how you sanitize the ambulance. And when I was short a thermometer, a touchless thermometer. So I guess I just want to stress how you are community minded, the fire department as a whole, and I just want to make that known on record. So I appreciate you. I can see that as you share that having a training person there on site is needed, because you want to make sure that everyone is trained and best serve our community. So this is Councilor Dice. I'm sorry I didn't have a question, but I do appreciate the service that you've been, that the fire department has been providing to New London.
Thank you, Council, and it's definitely a team effort. Thank you.
Okay. President Dominguez, at this time, let's have, and thank you, Councilor Dice, for your comments. At this time, let's go to Councilor Sadi. Councilor
Thank you
Sadi.
very much. This is Councilor Sadi. More of a technical question for Chief Curcio. So through you, Council President Dominguez, to Chief Curcio. I turn Council's attention to page 30. Third item down is overtime. And in the mayor's proposal, there's a 25% reduction. The revised budget in 2021 was $20,000 for overtime. Actual today uses $13,000, and we know that's as of March 31st. We still have 3 months left. And the proposal is for the 2022 is $15,000, which is a 25% reduction. Could you explain to us how the department plans to use less overtime so that they don't need that much budgeted?
That's actually my assistant, Mary Santos, her overtime, because like I said, she's been filling in. She's been doing a lot of extra duties that aren't, wouldn't normally be required of her. So that's something that is in her purview there.
This is Director McBride. That one of the reasons for that justification was as a result of the new position coming in, the requested new position, is that should offset some of her overtime if the chief has the deputy director to assist in those areas.
Thank you very much. At this juncture, then I have no further questions.
Okay. All right. This is President Dominguez. Thank you, Councilor Sadi. At this time, I'm going to call on Councilor Booker.
Thank you very much, President Dominguez. Through you, President Dominguez, to Chief Curcio. Chief Curcio, I know you are committed, you're dedicated to the city of New London, and you are also passionate about getting youth from our city involved and becoming firefighters. And currently, there are approximately 65 firefighters in the department, and 58 firefighters are white, and 3 are black, and 4 are Latino. what initiatives have you started to diversify the firefighter department, and what pipeline programs have you begun to get high school students into firefighting, and what barriers have you faced with these initiatives and efforts? And additionally, what funding is needed in the fiscal 2022?
This is Chief Curcio. Councilor Booker, you cut out.
Yeah. Let's get out.
I can start to explain. Hopefully he can hear me.
Yeah,
I'll wait.
you know
I'll
what?
wait a couple seconds.
Yeah. Just wait a couple of seconds, Chief Curcio, and if not, just, I think he wrote in there 3 questions, right, I think. So,
I think
yeah,
he's coming back in.
yep. All right, we'll give him, we'll allow him to come back in. Hopefully it's something that. Yep, okay, no, I don't see him yet.
Hello, Chief. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
We can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that is much better now.
yep,
Sorry about that technical difficulty here.
that's fine. Councilor Booker, he's got like I think you had like 3
Okay,
questions. So you want him to begin answering the ones you already had laid out?
No, it was just one question.
Okay,
Yeah, but I'll go over it really quick. Okay. So, Chief Curcio, what I said was, I know you are committed and dedicated to the city of New London. You are also passionate about getting youth from our city involved in becoming firefighters. Currently, there are approximately 65 firefighters in the department, and 58 firefighters are white, and 3 are black, and 4 are Latino. What initiatives have you started to diversify the fire department, and what pipeline programs have you begun to get high school students into firefighting? And what barriers have you faced with these efforts? And additionally, what funding is needed in the fiscal 2022 or future budget to support these programs?
So right
Are you
away.
able to hear me?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. This is Chief Curcio. So when I took over, it's always been my goal. I'm a New London High School graduate. I still live in the city of New London, of course, born and raised here. So it's always been my goal to try to get New London High School students involved in the fire service. So I reached out to New London High School Superintendent Ritchie, and she directed me in the direction of, I'm going to forget his first name, but his last name is Beebe. He's an instructor up at New London High School. He teaches an EMR class, an emergency medical response class, and which I did not realize already that was going on up there at the high school. So I asked him if there was any possibility if we could get together to try to talk about teaching an EMT class at the high school after that initial EMR class. And he was very excited about the opportunity. I've already met with him and the students that are in his current class and talked about the EMT class. It's going to be up and coming. It should be starting next year. I'm hoping. COVID has kind of really suppressed everything here because we wanted to get into the schools. The fire marshal has always been involved in the schools down in as far as middle school. The engine companies, the ambulances go to the schools to talk to the children, and that's kind of all been on hold. So we hope that's all going to get back to normal very soon. You're going to see a difference. And I really can't say too much right now, but the next individuals that we are going to be hiring, you're going to see, a result. And that was a testing process that we did. It was an open enrollment testing, and we did a certified testing, and we got some very good candidates. I was a little, upset at the beginning because a lot of the city residents that took the test did not pass the written test, and that's given by our personnel administrator, Tina Collins. So if we can get into the high schools, we can talk about maybe trying to take civil service exams, getting them better prepared for those type of exams. And, I have a lot of coworkers here that are very interested in getting into the school system and helping that succeed. I don't really think, the only barrier right now is COVID. So I don't think anything's going to, once we get let loose, we're going to go right at it. So I'm really looking forward to that. Did that answer your question, Counselor?
Yes, Chief Curcio. And thank you very much for the clarification.
Thank you.
My second question, on page 32, can you please describe the decreases in the payroll line items? In section 5 in the budget book on pages 6 and 7, I see there are 5 vacancies in the fire department and the firefighting division. What is the plan to fill these vacancies in the department, and what overall impact do these vacancies have on the requested budget for the next fiscal year?
Right.
And are the vacant positions in the budget, or will this result in a request for an increase or funding after the positions are filled?
Those positions are all accounted for. They have to be put in. Like I said, my assistant Mary works with the finance director and Donna Reinhardt, and all of those positions are in the budget. It won't result in any increase or request for additional funds. And that's what I was talking about. Those individuals will be coming on. I have to wait for some individuals to retire, and which will be in July, and then we will start our hiring process again. And I do have a certified list and a non-certified list. 2 individuals will be going to the academy in August, and I already know who they are. They've already been notified. Matter of fact, I encourage them, because neither one of them, they're both non-certified individuals, both Hispanic. They do not have, or they did not have EMT or the CPAT, the required physical agility test to get in. So I encouraged them while they were waiting to see if they could go out and do it. Both of them now have, I believe, completed their EMT, which is excellent. It actually saves us some money from sending them to school. And also they completed their CPAT exam, their physical fitness exam. So they're ready to go to the academy. That's required. They have to have that.
Chief Curcio, I just want to say thank you very much for all your great work. We really appreciate you. And this is Council Booker. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Dominguez, thank you, Councilor Booker, for those questions. Let me just double check. I think the other councilors are not yet in, so I'm gonna take one of my questions, or probably 2. So again, it's a pleasure to see you again, Chief Curcio. Very excited about that whole EMT program coming back to the high school, or getting started there. I know that's something that you have, been working on that for years. And hopefully, it'll come to fruition. And let me just, when you talk about that, because you said, you'll have that EMT program there. What are some other things along the line that you can add to that? I mean, because I know that you said once they allow that, then what is it? Is it just permission from the Board of Ed? Is it state? Is it what? How is that?
Well, there is an age requirement for,
Okay.
doing things like, raising ladders and things like
Okay.
that. There is a requirement,
see.
but just going up and demonstrating what we do and talking to children,
Yes.
we have to get out there and talk to them. And, like I said, the fire marshal's office was in Benny Dover for years. And,
Yes.
a lot of those things have stopped. And if we can get up there into the high school again, I think we're going to encourage some kids to, look at our profession. Or even if they don't want to be firefighters, if we can encourage them to get into that EMT class, number one, that's huge. If they graduate from high school with an EMT state certification or national certification, they can go get a job as an ER tech in Lawrence Memorial. They could go work for AMR Ambulance. They could go work for American Ambulance. They'll have a skill, so they can get out of there and make a decent wage as an EMT for a private ambulance company or, somewhere else.
Yes, thank you. This is President Dominguez. And, one more question to follow up on that. I guess maybe not a question, but probably a recommendation, which I thought about it for a while. I think I shared it with the mayor before. I'm not sure, but it's like, we have our school, right? We have our high school. We have police officers. We have firefighters. You look at, the military branches, right? I mean, they go and recruit in our schools. You know what I mean? They do that. You know what I mean? I haven't been in, in the high school lately, but I know in the past when I was a student, you always had them if they were faithful. So I don't know if there's something that we can develop, like maybe like a fair that can expose like many of our jobs, whether it's public works, whether it's, you know, the fire department, the police officers, you know, the police department, just to get our voices out there so the kids will know. I mean, how interested we are as a city to have them come join our forces, you know, come join, you know, these jobs that are here for them, that we want it for them. So, and I mean, I don't know if that's ever been done before, but I think that's a way for us to, you know, and I don't know what other hurdles do we ask permission, probably, you know, I mean, how that could be. I think
This
I would like
is
to see that in the future.
this
Go
is
ahead.
Chief Curcio, President Dominguez. We used to do that. We used to do that a lot. I remember when Chief Samuel was here, we used to go up to the high school and do, you know, set up some tables and have the kids come around, and it would show all the professions that, you know, city workers do. The police were always there. Fire department was always there. And I'd even love to start that up. That would be something else that, you know, this new position could handle. And because that individual will be heavily involved with that EMT class. It's gonna be needed because there'll be records to, you know, keep on that also as far as ride time when they come down here, because they'll have to do so much ride time on the ambulance and respond to calls with us.
Yeah, no, I thank you. The President Dominguez, it's an excellent idea. I think it's something
It
that we
is,
need to
yes.
do. I mean, it's a way to, you know, promote, you know, our firefighters, our police officers, and any other, you know, any other department that has that availability to be able to do that. I mean, if we want our kids, you know, our high schoolers to be part of our community and these jobs are available, let's go after them. And I guess that's the way that, you know, by being president and having these fairs and talking about, you know, different, you know, and just, you know, seeing, you know, our firefighters and police officers there with a table sitting down, talking to them. I mean, that's a way to, you know, to collaborate. And I think it's
Right.
so.
And we used to bring our safety trailer there also, and we
Mhm.
have one now too. It's a newer one, and you know, the fire marshal's office was doing that also, you know, before COVID hit. So
Yeah.
once we get back to normal, we'll be back out there again.
Okay, that'll be great. In full force. We got to go
Yeah.
after them. So thank you. And I have one more question, and it's on page 30. It's the part with consulting. What is the consulting there? When we talk about consulting, I noticed that it was in. Let me
Okay,
see.
the consulting,
go ahead.
this is Chief Curcio. The consulting is for the mandatory physicals that our members have to take.
Okay.
The physical fitness program, that's contractual. This year, that also got delayed because the individual that did that, the personal trainer, could not come due to COVID. So, you know, the cost of the physicals has been going up because it's based on age and the requirements. So those are mandatory things that we have to do, and that's part of that consulting. And we're probably going to have to be going out to bid for a new trainer very soon because that individual has moved on and found another profession. So she won't be able to come here and do that anymore. But that's part of the contract. So I will have to find someone to do that.
Okay, this is President Dominguez. Thank you very much, Chief Curcio. Let me go back around. Any other counselor that has any other question that you would like to address to Chief Curcio at this time? Okay. All right, it seems like everybody said, let me just, because I know Sadie's here, but Councilor Sadie, any questions from your part, John?
Not at this point in time, but I would like to congratulate Councilor Booker on his question regarding the racial makeup of our department. I have been asking for years for an update to our affirmative action plan so that we'd be able to proactively recruit more minority candidates so that any department in our city would better look like the makeup of what our community is, i.e., if we have 25% Black in our community, I would love to see at least 25% Black in our fire department. If we have 35% Hispanic in our community, I would love to see a 35% of employees of the Hispanic makeup, et cetera, et cetera. And so hopefully in the future, we will get an updated affirmative action plan that, number one, tells us what the racial makeup is of our community. And we can then start trying to affirmatively promote the hiring of people that would match that makeup. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Yep, this is President Dominguez. Thank you, Councilor Sadi, for those comments. And let me just say this too. I think, going back, the way to do this is, you know what, letting the kids of our schools know that, we're here and we want you. We want you. This is what's waiting for you. This is what we have to offer, and we want you to be part of this. Be part of the firefighter department, police officers, any other department that we have. I mean, we look at it. We have them right in front of us. You know what I mean? So I think I know that Chief Kershaw, his heart is there. He wants to do that. So hopefully this whole thing with the EMT program starting at the high school, hopefully, it will get things started, and eventually to the police office, the department will get started. The other thing I'm also think about, it's a language. Okay. And I know that English is the official language in the US. I understand that but we have so many residents or people that have moved here from other countries, from other states who are not fluent in English, and also having, our staff be bilingual, whether it's Spanish, whether it's Creole. I mean, that's highly important. When you arrive somewhere, there's an emergency. It's always good to have someone there that can communicate just in case someone in the staff doesn't have that like so that's something to think about, and that's in the whole entire city. I mean, every department in every area, from department, from the mayor's office all the way down. So and more to, again, public servants, that's also important. Public safety, I mean. Okay, I see Councilor Dice, you got a question?
Not a question, just
Okay.
want, through you, President, just want to add that let's continue to start at preschool. Many times we had the firemen and policemen come to our childcare facility, and they have gone to other childcare facility to be readers. So we need to make sure that we start at a younger age, exposing them to different careers in our community. Thank you, Councilor Dice. Thank you, President.
All right. President Dominguez said, thank you, Councilor Dice. And seeing no one else that has a question for Fire Chief Kershaw at this time. Fire Chief Kershaw, we want to thank you for making yourself available. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for answering our questions, and also for just keeping us in the loop of how things are going. And just the other thing about the fire truck, I'm glad that those things are going to be resolved. That's very important. And I'm glad that the company's working out and going to be eventually. Do you have a date time when they're going to be able to have this completely done?
It should be done by June.
Okay. Oh, great.
Yep.
Great.
So, yeah, thank you all for your support. Thank you, Mayor, for your support and everything that you do. Thank you.
All right. This is President Dominguez. Thank you, Fire Chief Kershaw. All right. At this time, it's 6:05. Our next scheduled appointment is at 6:30. I mean, that's what we have on the schedule. Usually the times are set. I don't want to go and start early because I don't know if someone's going to drop in at that time. I'm looking at you guys. What do you guys want to do? It's 6:30. I think Mayor?
You can't, Mr. President, unfortunately, you can't start early because
That's right.
anybody that sees the posting for the 6:30, yeah, I hate to tell you that, but
Yes.
my advice is, and what we used to do over the years, you might recall, is, shorten the time, because you can always bump them later, but you can't move it up earlier.
That's true.
No.
Thank you.
Hey.
All right. So we'll be back. Thank you, Mayor Passero. We'll be back at 6:30, everyone. Okay. Thank you, Director Mayor. We'll see you soon. All right. come back to our Finance Committee meeting. It's 6:30 p.m. This is President Dominguez. At this time, we're going to be joined by the Recreation Department. Okay, and you know what? Let me just say something, because I misspoke something I said before in the prior about English being the official language of the United States. There's no such thing. All right. The United States has no official language. It's a multilingual nation. Even though the majority of us do speak, there's about 300 million people that do speak English. There's Spanish, 43 million speak Spanish. And then way a little bit at the bottom, Creole, about 1 million people. So, and we got those three in our city and more. So again, just wanted to say that. All right, with that said, well, we're going to welcome our Department of Recreation Director, Mayor, and also Assistant Director Sharon Bousquet. All right, so the floor is yours.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. And like I said, like I've always said, that we also have Sharon Bousquet, who's the Assistant Director, and like to also, in front of you, say that she's done a great job, and she has assisted in making this town into a step above than what it really is. Believe me, we're the Mecca, and she has definitely done a great job with it. But get to business. Well, thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. The Department of Recreation currently is nationally accredited, and we're 1 out of 187 within the United States. We are 1 out of 2 within New England, and we are 101 in Connecticut. Less than 1% of the rec agencies are nationally accredited, and 0.7% of the recreation agencies in this country can claim they have reached the status of the level to service their residents. Since COVID, the Department of Recreation has rose to the occasion to service in an essential community hybrid school, support held at Ocean Beach, Miracle Temple, and an International Family Center, 3 sites utilized. Office of Youth Affairs was consistent, providing services with early childhood, linking with Zoom, learning resources, providing books with the free library outside the Stanton building. Parents, students had access of guidance, support, with learning schools with such as CPR classes, summer employment, and thousands of means of aids to the community. Also to mention, in the summer, during the pandemic summer camps, was provided to our residents, to their children, as I stated, camps, summer camps. The Office of Youth Affairs, devoted 100% during this past year, changing their regular programs to focus on the needs of the community. We look forward to doing more. Is there any questions?
Okay, this is President Dominguez. Thank you, Director Major, for your presentation. At this time, I'm going to go through the councilors. They're each going to ask 2 questions. So we'll begin with Councilor Goodwin.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you a little better. Yep.
Got it. I'm sorry, I'm leaving the office, waiting on a ride, so I'm outside. My apologies. Through you to Tommy Majors, could you tell us a little bit more about our youth services division and what emphasis and or goals you guys have in mind for that division?
Well, let me say this to you. That division has been a great service to the community for over 24 to 25 years. Our main goal is to compensate for many of the situations that the recreation department cannot provide. We try to provide various leisures and recreation, and they are in many sense are a educational, employment, and a institution that we also have connection with the federal government, whereas for our subsidized money that we do receive. So let me say this to you, the city nor other recreation could duplicate that service. And it has been a wonderful, essential program for the city of New London.
And could you let me know, or the finance director, whoever is this most appropriate for, what aspect of our budget is directed towards and or correlates with the youth services division?
Well, basically, the only thing that the city actually gives is right now is rental for a bin, and I think as I looked through it is rental, rental which would be for the bin, and then also provide services for the director of the Office Youth Affairs. But I also want to make you understand is that is one of the reasons why we do have the Office Youth Affairs, because when it first started, we are to that's their they're supposed to support by getting grants, and by getting those grants, that also helps the city, as I was stating before. But that's their main purpose, was to find grants to do a variety of different services.
I think I exhausted my 2 questions. Thank you, Director.
And I'm probably also to say this to you is Mr. Curtis Goodwin is also a past student of our wonderful program. And as you see, he's one that has grown and came back to provide his humanistic aid to our community. So that's basically, if you want to say what has been our goal and objective, he's a prime walking project of it.
And Director, I appreciate that. And sorry, I'm going to take up a tiny bit more time. I'm glad you brought that up. So a part of me asking some of these questions is I'm wondering if there's more innovative or proactive ways that the city can be a little bit more accountable to our funding dollars to support the wonderful work that the Office of Youth Affairs does. As you just alluded to, I'm a recipient of many offerings that the Office of Youth Affairs had, as well as being a teen organizer as my first job when I was 15 years old, through being 18 years old. And I've noticed we've dwindled in terms of the programming that we've had in the Youth Services Division, from our summer workforce to the Teens Off the Hook to RAD, Recreational Alternative to Drugs. And a lot of that, I'm sure, is subject to funding or lack of. And I'm just wondering if there's ways that we as a city could be a little bit more proactive in aiding the wonderful things you guys do.
Well, variety of different ways. I mean, not so much as far as we actually have to give money, as the point comes down to is if we can go to our state representatives and assist us on grants that are out there, and also federal situation. Because I also want to make you aware that when we first started, we were a $5 million operation, and as Mr. Goodwin has stated, we have dwindled. But we need governmental support. We have the right person in the position, just that we actually need, like I said, more support.
Thank you. And I have no further questions. And I will say you can add me to that fight and or advocacy at the state level as well, to make sure that we exhaust all resources that are available to fund our rec department. And also a thank you to Lori for her efforts and your team's efforts on making Fulton Park a new initiative.
Thank you. And I also thank you for that.
This is President Dominguez. Thank you very much, Councilor Goodwin. We'll come back again, so if you have more questions, you'll have a second opportunity to do that. All right. So next we will have Councilor Sadi.
Thank you very much, Councilor Goodwin. Through you to Sharon Bousquet, I guess. regarding youth affairs grants. And just wondering whether it be through this budget and or through the money that we'll be receiving in COVID relief, would the Recreation Department be able to recreate youth employment programs?
Do you mean add additional, I'm sorry, this is Assistant Director Bousquet. Do you mean add additional positions that are currently in that program?
That, expanding it possibly, we started to discuss this last night and I did it via text. I know when I was growing up, Parks and Rec, and it was really through Public Works, used to hire a dozen or so kids, 15, 16-year-old kids to do spring cleanups, to maybe push some lawnmowers, etc. What I would like to do is I would like to see the Office of Youth Affairs and the Department of Recreation get some money so that we could possibly recreate the youth work program, hire 10, 20, 30 people. I know that Camp New London does that now with counselors, but I'm saying hiring youth, especially at-risk youth, to, have some type of summer employment. And again, I don't know whether you have to meet the minimum wage of 15 an hour or whatever it may be. But, I would sure as heck like to see, some of our youth, getting experience through the city.
Yeah, this is Assistant Director Bousquet. I know the framework is certainly all in place, and there has been discussions about this. You're correct. If the money was there to pay them, and we were able to move that around, the whole structure is there through the Youth Affairs Employment Program. It's a phenomenal program. They have it down to a T to get all those kids through the system, and it's not just employment; it's resume building and them getting themselves out there and that experience. So it's extremely successful. So to add more kids to that would be fantastic.
So in other words, if we added more money, whether it be through COVID relief and or through our budget, you people would be able to use that?
This is Assistant Director Bousquet. As I said, the framework is all in place. Yeah, I'm sure that they could put more money to use and get more kids out there. They always have teens on the wait list, and people that we can't get in. So I would find it very difficult to believe they couldn't definitely find more teens to get in there.
Thank you very much. I have no further questions. This is Councilor Sadi.
Okay, this is President Dominguez. Thank you, Councilor Sadi. At this time, I'll call on Councilor Dice.
Good afternoon, and through you, President. This is to the director or to finance. I was wondering how many employees are under administration in this department, in the recreation department? How many staff members?
Well, actually, if we say far as administration, it would be Sharon and myself, and then we subsidize 3 other different people, one a secretary, and then two people who assist us in the aquatics, and then also our camps program.
Oh, awesome. Okay, this is Councilor Dice speaking again. So just on another note, I like the collaboration over the years past, and I'm in support for the recreation department through our kids getting swim lessons. You have been partnering with us and allowing us to utilize your lifeguards and trainers for swim lessons over the years. I was very thankful last summer that you guys ran during COVID, because there was very few organizations that provided services for our families and our community during that time frame. The reason why I ask how many staff members you have, because I'm looking at the task that is over the years that's been taking place, and to have a small administrative task that shows, and then to be accredited, that shows the hard work and dedication and due diligence that you guys do. So I just want to put that on record. And this was Councilor Dice speaking. Thank you.
And I thank you also. The staff do an excellent job. They really do. They deal with drive, determination, and desire, and they keep themselves motivated.
President Dominguez, thank you. Councilor Dice. At this time, I'm going to go to Councilor Booker.
Thank you very much, President Dominguez. Through you, President Dominguez, to Director Tommy Major. What do you anticipate for the 2021 and the need to adjust and respond to safety protocols with COVID-19? And what goals do you have for the program? And will the anticipated revenue meet your expenses for the program?
Well, you know, a lot of times and honestly, I want you to understand, I believe in money, but in the circumstances that we're in, you know, we can't always think about money. The point comes down to is if they're really, I strongly feel this, and you know, it's that we need to find a way, whereas to work with our Board of Education and make sure that everything's working smoothly as far as with communications such as the utilizations of their facilities. You know, if we are not connected, I'll say it that way, then, you know, it's not so much as going to hurt the Recreation Department or the Board of Ed. It's going to be the youth or our community. So those are the things that I wish that many times that, you know, that we could, especially in the situation that we're, let's face it, we do lack one facility, and so we need to think positive about, you know, trying to get into the school systems, and let's work together, and we go from there. But you know, I mean, there's always need for money, but I want us to, you know, you have to crawl before you walk. And right now, that to me would be one of the main objectives, is that you can have $1 million, but if you don't have anything, if you don't have the money to utilize it, then there's no need of having the money. So, you know, the main thing right now is going into the building. I'm sorry to stutter, but keep emphasizing about the building situation. You know, gyms and, you know, classes and things like that is very important. And I also want to say that the staff has done a great job. We are working with the Board of Ed, and it comes to my knowledge that we're also going to be collaborating with grants and trying to get some money. But so I'm just saying to you, on the end of the Recreation Department, we are doing all that we can do. So I mean, I was sincere about 100% trying to devote our department for the needs of the community.
Thank you very much, Director Major. I greatly appreciate all the work your department is doing. I just have one other question as well. You know, you emphasize that there's always a need for money, which is so true. And just the whole point of you doing all we can to make sure everything stays afloat. On tab 18 on page 13, I noticed that there was an increase in overtime in the fiscal year 2022 of about $2,300. What are the anticipated needs for overtime this coming year? And honestly, is this a sufficient amount of money to fund your needs? Through you, President Dominguez, to either Director Major or Sharon Bosquet.
Well, you kind of somewhat threw it
This is Assistant
Go ahead,
Director
Sharon, why don't you
Bousquet.
answer that one?
You're looking at page 13 on, you said line 3, overtime?
Tab 18.
18.
Yep. So on tab 18, page 13, there is an increase in overtime in the fiscal year 2022.
Point of order, Councilor Booker. I do not believe it's page 13. That would be for the period 13 take a look a little bit right under the word Munis. It says page 52 or
Okay.
what,
That's correct.
what page?
53.
Thank you.
Yeah, 53. And thank you very much, Councilor Sadi.
Yep.
This is Director McBride. I just want to make sure we're understanding this correctly. The overtime stayed the same as it did last year in both administration and the rec program. So I'm not sure if that's what we're being tasked with questioning, but I think the overtime stayed the same. And is that what you're asking? Is the overtime sufficient in
That's
order
correct.
to cover the objectives of the programs? And I would defer
That's
to
correct.
Director of
It's a
Assistant
sufficient amount of money, of funds for your needs this coming year.
Yeah, this is Assistant Director Bousquet. Yes, so it did not change since last year. That overtime is used for our weekend events. So like the 3 youth races, the triathlon, the aquathon, the duathlon that we put on the weekend, basketball that might occur on the weekend for us to check in. But that only covers the full-time position that is in that line item, or it covers the custodians when we had the Martin Center, but we no longer have the Martin Center. But there's always things that seem to pop up with meetings and whatnot. That's all that covers. Our other staff that works extra hours is all covered under Camp New London, or the administration line item where the overtime is there for the other full-time people.
Well, thank you very much for that clarification. I greatly appreciate it. This is Council Booker. Thank you so much for all your great work. And I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This is President Dominguez. Thank you, Councilor Booker. At this time, I'm going to call on President Pro Tem Nartates with your questions.
Thank you, President Dominguez. I don't have any further questions at this time. I think the main points have already been addressed. Thank you.
Okay, this is President Dominguez. Thank you, President Pro Tem Nartates. You know what? Most of the questions sort of been answered, but I guess I just want to go back, just a comment. We know that the youth service is mostly funded by grants, what I heard correctly from the Director Major. And that was the sole purpose of that department, right? That was going to be the avenue or the original, I guess the original plan for it to go out and get grants.
Right.
Okay. All right. So I'm glad that Ellen and her team are able to do this, because I think if not, I mean, if you take that amount of money, I mean,
Oh, no, absolutely.
we would not be having all the programs and all the youth employment that we have. And I guess, you know, touching back, I guess, on what Councilor Goodwin, which I think he was kind of focuses on is, what can the city eventually, you know, do to help out in that area, you know, in the future, and just being intentional, you know what I mean, on that sense, you know. And I know we have so many departments, we have so many needs, but I guess, I don't know how long Ellen is going to be there, you know. I mean, who's going to be next after her? Who's going to pick up that? I mean, that's the key. I mean, she's been there for like, what is it, 20 years, 25? I don't know.
Over 25.
Look at that. So we're very grateful for her and, you know, what she's been doing in that department, and being able to grow it and get those monies for our youth. So I don't need an answer. I just food for thought for us to think in the future. Yes, go ahead, Director Major. You wanted to say something?
Well, also the thing about it is that, you know, she's definitely a professional, and I'm sure that, you know, she'll be around for, you know, a good 5 more years. But the also thing about it is that we need to do a feasibility study on, as far as for our other institutions, and the other institution would be as far as Little League, Babe Ruth, and that type of thing, because you know, they're a fundamental foundation to our community. So, and we haven't had really an opportunity, a chance to speak to them due to the fact of COVID. But, we gotta find a way whereas we can keep that sustained situation as far as to keep our youth moving. So those are the things I hope that, I know that you won't forget, but those are the things of interest that you, those are things that need to be also thought about too.
This is President Dominguez. Thank you, Director Major. Going back to any other counselor for our second round of questions, any other counselor that has, I know Councilor Goodwin, I don't know if he has any more questions. He started the questioning. Nope.
Council President Dominguez, this is Councilor John Sadi.
Yes,
I
sir.
do have a few questions.
Okay, so we'll go right to Councilor Sadi. Go ahead.
So what I would like to do is turn your attention to tab 18, page number 53. And about 2/3 of the way down, you have a line item for rentals. And the word is cut off. And
I don't have any more. I don't have any more questions. I just have a last comment.
Oh, hold on, Councilor Goodwin, because I think Sadi was speaking. Let me just. Hello, Councilor Sadi.
yes,
All right.
can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm off.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything.
Page
Okay.
53, 2/3 of the way down, rentals. There seems to be 117% from somewhere around 5,000 to upwards of 37,000. Could you explain to me what that increase is because, for what reason?
Well, and I'd like to thank David McBride, because we don't really know what the circumstances are going to be as far as for the schools. So that's.
So I'm assuming that there's a greater need to rent space due to the fact the Martin Center is closed?
Well, no, not that, because that was, the situation is that was in the back burner as far as the school, the Board of Ed has stated to us that there's some needs, such as when custodians are requested to come in on the weekends or so that's probably basically why Mr. McBride did it that way. So,
Thank you very much. My
been.
next question is 3 or 4 line items down, travel and T. And again, it's cut off, but there's 142% increase in that line item. And I'm just wondering if you could explain the reason why, Director McBride.
Yes, this is Director McBride. That's travel and transportation. I apologize for the new munis format. We definitely will make sure that's not done in the future. The other one was rentals and leases as well. The major reason for that, and Assistant Director can elaborate, but my understanding was this program several years ago was cut back dramatically, and it was for transportation for the children to and from various areas. When that particular line item was cut, they ended up using Camp New London to fund that for the past 2 years. So we put it back into this department as a general fund expense because, as I believe I indicated earlier, the amount of money in the Camp New London has been being diminished over time. We've been drawing that down, so the funds needed to come out of the general fund budget as opposed to using Camp New London because it's a reserve account that has been depleted, or not depleted, but near depleted. So long story short, it's the fund in the general fund as opposed to Camp New London.
And so, and I apologize, I know I saw it in the budget somewhere. What page would Camp New London funding be on?
Camp New London is in tab, this is Director McBride, tab 25, sub-reference K2.
Let me just give me 1 second to get there, please.
Yeah, so it's a good 25 or so pages deep, starting with letter K, K1 is the description, K2 is the financials.
Because I see A, B, C, D, E, F.
Yep, and then just keep on going.
B, A.
These are all the special revenue funds, and Camp New London being one as well. It's letter K.
Yeah, just bear- trying to get there.
And when you do get there, you will see the general contribution from the general fund has been decreased to 50,000 this year from 100,000. And that's the result of, we continue to utilize the Camp New London reserve balance that as of 6/30/19 was 173,000. Just to elaborate a little bit more, the thought process, not just in Camp New London, but in many other of the reserve accounts in New London, such as the debt service reserve, is in my opinion, it does not make sense to have these funds sit idle in these accounts and not be utilized and then go and tax your residents when prior year residents have been paying the taxes to accumulate those balances. So what we've done the past few years is utilize some of those Camp New London funds. In essence, don't pass the burden on current year taxpayers. Utilize some of those funds that have been built up, such as a rainy day fund specific to that reserve fund. So that's the reason for the change.
And what are we talking about for reserves at this point in time in the Camp New London budget?
It was 173,000 as of the audited financial statements for 6/30/19. And of that, of that amount, some of that will be used in Camp New London this current fiscal year or next fiscal year.
And I'm sorry, the figure of 173,000 was just Camp New London, or was that all reserves?
No, that's just Camp New London. So as a special revenue account, it has its own set of books, let's say, similar to the general fund. And as we talk about the general fund balance, that money carries over year. All the special revenue funds have the ability to do that as well. Camp New London, Sharon and I have worked for many, many years on that balance, and that balance has decreased to the point where it's 173 because they have been using those funds to fund Camp New London as opposed to using the general fund contribution.
Thank you very much. I have no further questions at this point in time. I do have one comment, and that is that I would hope that we're going to be able to, with this COVID money, increase funding to Camp New London so that we can see more youth employment programs. Thank you very much.
Okay, this is President Dominguez. Thank you, Councilor Sadi. Councilor Goodwin.
Thank you, Council President. I actually don't have any more questions. I guess I have a comment though. I agree with Councilor Sadi. I think the fact that we rely on grants for our youth services division is not a proactive measure to all the things that we're dealing with in our community. The fact that, we declared racial discrimination or whatever as a public health emergency. If you think about our own personal issues that we deal with the pandemic as adults, multiply that, and then you get the effects that are compounding for the youth that they're facing. You hear the director allude to the fact that yet still there is not an agreement on use of our schools that we, of course, have to pay for with our tax dollars, as we're doing right now in the conversations with our schools to increase funding for them. The fact that there isn't a partnership shows a lack of cooperation, a lack of driving a vision that has the best interests of our youth. If we're going to stop or push the needle on crime prevention, equity, et cetera, it starts with our youth. That level of investment should not be the sole reason why we have a department that's based solely on grants. I'm the recipient of those grants, and those programs that afforded me the lifestyle and the life that I have to be so privileged to be a counselor does not exist today. And I think that is something that we need to make sure is a priority in our funding objectives. So I think that's the final comment that I'll have, is that as a council, it is our duty to make sure that we have the best interests of our youth, because they will change the trajectory of the city of New London. And if we don't do that and we rely on the grants or the state of Connecticut, we by far have not served the best interests of our youth.
Okay, this is President Dominguez. Thank you, Councilor Goodwin, for your comments. I agree with you 100%. When we invest in our youth, we'll see the results and we'll see the harvest. I think we're done, guys. I don't think anybody else had any questions. Just so I want to, before we finalize it, I want to thank again Director Major. I want to thank Assistant Busquet for their time, for joining us this evening, for answering our questions, and just for having this conversation with us this evening. Again, thank you for all the work that you're doing, and we wish you the best for the next year, the budget, okay, that will eventually be approved. Okay, so with that said, I have a public comment that I have to read, and then after that, then we'll adjourn. Let me just
We
find
can
it.
Thank you also.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah,
No,
you're
we
welcome.
also thank you also, every one of you, for your time and your effort.
Thank you very much, Mr. Major. Okay. Okay, so tonight's public comment is, my name is Claire Reardon, New London resident at 16 Hempstead Court. I would like to ask the Finance Committee to pose this question to City Councilors as they evaluate the budget. What are New London's values with respect to our youth? I would like to see that we align the budget with the value of New London residents and allot more money to support youth programs. Specifically, I would like to suggest transfer appropriate money to youth affairs from the general fund. At this time, zero tax dollars go to youth affairs, which is entirely grant funded. Number two, eliminate recreation fees for children. I believe these fees prohibit too many New London children from participating in rec sports. Number three, increase funding of Camp New London, which is so critical to the physical and emotional health of our children, especially during this era of COVID-driven unemployment and caretaker burnout. The mayor's budget will decrease money from the general fund to Camp New London by $50,000, which could be devastating. Number four, consider reallocating funds from the police budget to support the needs of our youth. This will be in line with the values of New London residents, as evidenced by the overwhelming support of the People's Budget campaign. Such community involvement led to the successful repeal of the ordinance mandating 80 police officers. Over 9,000 signatures were obtained on the petition demanding this repeal. Large changes in funding are possible, as in 2017 fiscal year, when the mayor increased the police and fire budgets by 35%, $3 million to each department. Please consider significant change, and please show that you represent the residents of New London by following our voices and funding what we value. Thank you for your generous service. Okay, so at this time, I am going to call for one last motion.
Counselor Dice, motion to adjourn.
Second it.
All right, it's been
Second, Councilor Goodwin.
seconded by Counselor, I think it was Booker. And then with that, we'll vote. All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Okay, the motion carries. We will adjourn at 7:08 p.m. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you all on Tuesday.
Have a good night.
Have a good